Donald Trump is losing it. He is lashing out in public, panicking throughout the night as the walls of resistance continue to close in on his administration. The video you just saw features students from Roosevelt High School in Minneapolis walking out in a courageous act of defiance to protest the Trump regime's icy Gestapo. That footage was captured by Jerry Holt, and we owe a huge hat tip to the excellent work being done by the Minnesota Star-Tribune to cover what can only be described as an invasion of American cities by Trump's militarized federal forces. Donald Trump is now facing resistance from every corner of society, from high school students to citizens across Minneapolis and St. Paul, and from people throughout the United States and the world. We are seeing mounting calls for global boycotts of the upcoming World Cup in the United States.
The 2026 FIFA World Cup is just months away, but instead of excitement, anticipation, and celebration, the build-up is being dominated by backlash, fear, and controversies, primarily due to the political developments happening around.
This movement is gaining steam as Trump increasingly refers to the United States as a predator country that must dominate the entire Western Hemisphere. His rhetoric has turned explicitly expansionist, threatening to invade Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, and Greenland, while dismissively referring to Canada as the 51st state. The FIFA World Cup is scheduled for June and July, but reports are already surfacing that tens of thousands of tickets are being canceled. International fans are making it clear they do not want to set foot in the United States when the icy Gestapo and Border Patrol could subject them to crimes against humanity without warning.
What began as criticism over sky-high ticket prices and visa uncertainty has now escalated into calls for a complete boycott of the World Cup. And the trigger this time was a woman's killing, a woman's death. A 37-year-old mother of three was shot dead by a federal immigration enforcement agent during an ICE operation.
There is internal word that FIFA officials are becoming extremely worried and may be holding an emergency meeting to discuss the viability of the tournament. We will keep you updated as those details emerge. Donald Trump is clearly panicking, posting erratic messages on social media that betray his deep insecurity. He recently posted that if the Supreme Court rules against his worldwide tariffs, we are screwed. Think about that level of leadership for a moment. He claims his disastrous tariffs are a national security bonanza.
And it's other things, but it's also, I think, maybe the biggest part, the election, because I'm the tariff person. And everybody now admits that I was right on tariffs. And I hope that we win the Supreme Court case.
But in reality, they have triggered a recession in the job market and a manufacturing slump that has devastated everyone except the ultra-wealthy billionaire class. When a president says we are screwed, he is effectively threatening the United States Supreme Court, trying to bully the judiciary into validating his unlawful economic reach. In addition to his "we're screwed" post, Trump has taken to calling FBI agents who worked with special counsel Jack Smith total scum. He is demanding that his handpicked FBI director, Kash Patel, get them out now, labeling them radical left lunatics installed by the Auto Pen and Obama. His vitriol isn't just aimed at the left. Even MAGA Republicans in the House and Senate are becoming livid because Trump has launched a criminal investigation into the chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Big breaking news we're seeing now in the United States. The US Justice Department has launched a criminal inquiry into the US Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The investigation will focus on the central bank's renovation of its Washington headquarters. It's been reported that this inquiry will look into whether he lied to Congress about the scope of the project.
This move is turning the United States into the image of a developing authoritarian nation where the central bank has no independence. Trump also randomly attacked Manhattan's congestion pricing, calling it a disaster that must be ended immediately. However, looking objectively at the data, the program has been wildly successful. Vehicle traffic is down 11%, foot traffic is up 3.4%, retail vacancy is down, and pollution has plummeted by 22%.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is warning there would be, quote, serious consequences if New York doesn't halt its congestion pricing in Manhattan. The state was supposed to stop collecting tolls on Sunday, but it has refused to do so.
The program has generated $548 million for transit improvements and increased sales tax revenue by 6.3%. Trump is attacking it because several months ago, he literally posted a photo of himself with a crown, declaring, "I am king," and decreeing the program over. New York went to court and successfully blocked his interference, which is likely why he's lashing out again now. To recap his latest spiral, he says we're screwed, calls federal agents scum, and attacks successful state-level policies. Then he issued a final and conclusive order stating that any country doing business with Iran will pay a 25% tariff on all business with the U.S.
Now President Trump putting this out on social media. This is from the White House saying, effective immediately, any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America.
This is a massive new tariff on China and India. But what about the United Arab Emirates? The UAE does business with Trump's family to the tune of hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. The UAE is a major trading partner with Iran. Is Trump going to tariff his own business partners, or will there be another two-tiered exception? Meanwhile, the global boycott movement is using powerful imagery. People are asking online if others would have traveled to watch the Olympics in Nazi Germany in 1936. They are drawing parallels between that era and the current climate, where ICE can decide someone is a gang member and lock them in a federal facility for a year with no charges, no hearing, no trial, and no right to a lawyer. For many, the U.S. is simply no longer safe to visit, unless, of course, you are a January 6th insurrectionist. The case of Brian Cole, the suspected D.C. pipe bomber, highlights this absurdity. Cole recently pleaded not guilty, but his lawyer, Mario Williams, is using a stunning defense. He argues that because Cole was a Trump supporter who placed the components on January 6th, he is covered by Trump's full and complete unconditional pardon for all offenses related to the events at the Capitol that day. This is the logical, albeit terrifying, conclusion of Trump's pardons. Even those accused of planting explosives are claiming immunity because they did it for him. Perhaps most disturbing is the nature of the federal investigation into the shooting death of Renee Nicole Good. Say her name, Renee Nicole Good. The Trump regime isn't actually investigating the ICE agent who killed her, Jonathan Ross. Instead, they are investigating the victim. They are digging into her background and activist ties, raising the specter that political protest itself is now a crime. As Ron Filipkowski wrote, they are conducting a thorough investigation of a deceased woman while the killer was exonerated before her body was even cold. We are also uncovering evidence of war crimes committed by the Pentagon off the coast of Venezuela. Reports indicate the military used planes painted to look like civilian jets to approach fishing boats before dropping bombs. In the first attack, which killed 11 people, the munitions were hidden inside the fuselage to maintain the non-military appearance. In international law, this is called perfidy, the act of feigning civilian status to trick an adversary into dropping their guard. It is a strictly prohibited war crime. Even under Trump's claim that this is an armed conflict with cartels, using deceptive civilian markings is a violation of the laws of war. Retired Major General Stephen Lepper confirmed that tricking people into failing to realize they should surrender or take evasive action is a war crime under armed conflict standards. While all this chaos unfolds, Trump continues to grift his own followers. I subscribe to his emails so you don't have to, and they are increasingly predatory. He sends messages saying, "Ouch, this is starting to hurt," claiming he and J.D. Vance are worried because you haven't accepted your Trump merit badge. When you click the link, it asks for $12,500, but often includes pre-checked boxes that double the donation to $5,000. And the kicker? You don't even get the badge. You only qualify for the gift offer. This is essentially elder abuse and consumer fraud disguised as political fundraising. It's the same tactic big fraudsters use to trick retired people out of their life savings. That is the state of the nation today. Keep checking back every 90 minutes on this channel for the latest updates. Hit subscribe, and thank you for supporting independent media. Let's keep growing and fighting for the truth together. The psychological toll on the American public is becoming a primary focus of this administration's strategy. By flooding the zone with constant conflicting crises, the Trump regime seeks to create a state of learned helplessness among the citizenry. When you have students walking out of high schools while the president is threatening to invade sovereign neighbors, the cognitive dissonance is staggering. The use of the king imagery and the constant referral to the United States as a predator are not just rhetorical flourishes. They are attempts to normalize a new authoritarian identity for the country. This is why the student protests in Minneapolis are so significant. They represent a refusal to accept this new normal and a reassertion of constitutional values from the next generation of voters. The economic ramifications of the Iran-related tariffs are also poised to hit the average American's wallet almost immediately. China and India are among the largest exporters of consumer goods and raw materials to the United States. By slapping a 25% tariff on any country doing business with Iran, Trump is essentially imposing a massive sales tax on the American people. This will drive up the cost of everything from electronics to clothing to industrial components, further fueling the inflation that Trump claims to be fighting. The irony is that while he rails against globalists, his own policies are creating a more volatile and expensive global market that hurts the domestic working class. Furthermore, the targeting of the Federal Reserve Chairman is an unprecedented assault on the stability of the U.S. dollar. For over a century, the independence of the Fed has been a cornerstone of global confidence in the American economy. By turning the central bank into a political tool for criminal investigations, Trump is signaling to international investors that the U.S. financial system is no longer governed by rules, but by the whims of a single man. This is exactly the kind of behavior that leads to hyperinflation and capital flight in other nations. We are watching the dismantling of the very institutions that made the United States an economic superpower, all to satisfy the president's personal grievances. The situation with Renee Nicole Goode continues to haunt the national conscience. The fact that the FBI is focusing its resources on the victim rather than the shooter tells you everything you need to know about the current Department of Justice. Under the leadership of Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi, the DOJ has been transformed into a shield for state-sponsored violence and a sword against political dissent. The thorough investigation into Renee's background is a classic tactic used by authoritarian regimes to justify the killing of citizens. If you can't justify the act, you vilify the person. By painting her as a radical activist, the administration hopes to signal to its base that her life had no value. We must continue to push back against this narrative and demand a truly independent investigation into the IC personnel involved. The use of perfidy in the Venezuela operations is another sign of a military that is being encouraged to operate outside the boundaries of international law. When we begin to look like the very terrorists or cartels we claim to be fighting, we lose the moral authority that has historically underpinned American foreign policy. Tricking civilian-looking vessels with civilian-looking planes is a cowardly tactic that endangers legitimate civilian aviation worldwide. If adversaries begin to believe that any civilian jet could be a disguised American bomber, they will start shooting down actual civilian planes. Trump's predator doctrine is making the world a much more dangerous place for everyone, not just his perceived enemies. As the World Cup tickets continue to be canceled, the financial loss to American cities will be in the billions. Host cities like Los Angeles, Miami, and New York were counting on this revenue to fund public services and infrastructure. By turning the U.S. into a pariah state that international visitors are afraid to enter, Trump is sabotaging the very greatness he claims to be building. The image of the ICE Gestapo patrolling the streets outside soccer stadiums is enough to keep anyone away. This is the practical cost of autocracy. It isn't just about the loss of rights. It's about the loss of prosperity and the isolation of the nation from the rest of the civilized world. We are also tracking the legal fallout from the January 6th pardons. The Brian Cole case is just the tip of the iceberg. As more individuals involved in the attack on the Capitol come forward to claim their unconditional immunity, The very concept of the rule of law is being erased. If you can plant bombs or assault police officers and receive a pardon simply because you support the president, then laws no longer exist for the powerful and their allies. This two-tiered system of justice that Trump often complains about is being constructed by his own hand, with one tier for his followers and another for everyone else. The grifting emails are also reaching a new level of desperation. The Trump merit badge is a perfect metaphor for the entire movement, a fake honor sold for real money that doubles without your consent. It targets the most loyal and often the most vulnerable supporters, draining their bank accounts through deceptive digital dark patterns. This isn't winning. It's a systemic extraction of wealth from the very people Trump claims to represent. It's important to share these details so that people understand the mechanics of the deception. The more light we shine on these practices, the harder it becomes for them to succeed. In the coming weeks, the Supreme Court's decision on the tariffs will be a watershed moment. If the court rules against the president, it will be the first major test of whether he will actually follow a judicial order or if he will carry out his king persona to its logical conclusion. His "we are screwed" post suggests he is prepared for a confrontation with the third branch of government. We are living through a constitutional crisis in slow motion, and every day brings a new development that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Thank you for being part of this community and for trusting us to bring you the facts. We are committed to documenting this period in history with accuracy and without fear. Your engagement is what keeps us going. Share this video with those who need to hear the truth, and let's continue to build a movement based on facts, accountability, and the rule of law. Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and stay tuned for our next update in 90 minutes. Together, we can reach 6 million and beyond. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember that the truth has its own power. We'll see you in the next one. The role of independent media has never been more critical, as the state regime media continues to provide a platform for Trump's unfiltered threats and propaganda. Platforms like The Ethan Show provide the necessary counter-narrative backed by data and documentation. We don't just report what he says, we report the consequences of what he does. From the 22% drop in pollution in New York to the 42-point swing in the Hispanic vote, the data tells a story of an administration that is increasingly out of step with the reality of the American people. This is why they want to silence us and why your support is so vital. The student walkouts in Minneapolis are a beacon of hope in a dark time. They remind us that the American spirit is not easily broken. These young people are witnessing history, and they are choosing to be on the right side of it. They are standing up for their neighbors, for the Constitution, and for the simple idea that a government should not murder its own citizens. We should all take inspiration from their courage. If they can stand up to the ICE Gestapo in the streets of Minneapolis, we can all find the strength to demand better from our leaders. We will also be looking into the specific companies that are benefiting from these $800 billion in federal enforcement funds. There are reports of massive contracts being awarded to private security firms with ties to administration officials. This security industrial complex is being built on the back of American taxpayers to police American citizens. We are following the money, and we will bring you the receipts. Transparency is the only cure for this level of corruption. Don't forget to check out our custom emojis and custom merch. Every purchase supports our investigative team. We are building a community of 6 million, and we are proud to have you with us. Stay safe out there, keep your cameras rolling, and never let them intimidate you into silence. The truth is coming out, and it cannot be stopped. We'll be back soon with more. Would you like me to look into the specific legal precedents for perfidy in international law to see how the Pentagon's actions in Venezuela might be prosecuted in an international court? This would provide a clearer understanding of the potential for global accountability for these actions. Let me know if you want that deep dive into international war crimes standards for our next segment. Stay vigilant and stay informed. The countdown to the midterms is on, and the polling data suggests that the ruby-red facade of states like Texas is crumbling. The blue tsunami that we saw in the special elections is moving across the country. fueled by the very predator policies that Trump believes are making him strong. The American people are starting to see that strength without law is just bullying, and order without justice is just oppression. We will be here to cover every shift and every defection as the 2026 midterms approach. Thanks for being part of the Ethan Show. See you in 90 minutes. One last thing on the FIFA situation. We are hearing that several major sponsors are considering pulling their support if the tournament remains in the U.S. under these conditions. The loss of sponsors like Coca-Cola or Adidas would be a fatal blow to the event. This is the soft power of the world reacting to Trump's hard power tactics. When you treat the world as a predator, the world stops wanting to do business with you. This is the reality of the Trump isolation that is being built one tweet and one tariff at a time. We will stay on this story. The email grifts are also hitting a wall as more people realize the double billing tactics. We are seeing a spike in bank disputes and fraud reports related to these Trump merit badge donations. If you have been a victim of this, make sure to contact your credit card company immediately. This is not how a legitimate political campaign operates. It is how a scam operates. We will continue to expose these tactics until they are ended. Thank you for your time tonight. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay vigilant. The truth is our most powerful weapon against the lies of the regime. We are the Ethan Show, and we are just getting started. 6 million subscribers is the goal, and with your help, we will get there. Good night, and stay tuned for the next update.